The desert had a cruel kind of silence that morning, the kind that swallowed every sound except the wind's whisper and the lonely cry of a hawk. The sun had not yet risen, but its pale light brushed the horizon, touching the red stones of the canyon and the silver sage that clung stubbornly to the earth. Somewhere between the fading night and the coming day, Evelyn Hart stumbled through the dust, her torn skirt heavy with sand. Her lips cracked from thirst. She had been walking for hours, maybe days, and she couldn't tell anymore. The storm had taken her horse, the coyotes had taken her courage, and the desert was now trying to take her life. Her father's small ranch near the border had been raided 2 nights ago. She'd run when the flames rose, her ears filled with screams and gunfire, clutching only a silver locket, her mother's, the one she now kept pressed to her chest like a prayer. Her boots gave out miles ago. Barefoot, trembling, she followed what she thought was the glimmer of water in the distance. A mirage, perhaps, but hope was all she had left. Then the world tilted and she fell to her knees, the sand burning her palms. When she lifted her head again, she wasn't alone. From the canyon's edge, a figure on horseback emerged, tall, motionless, backlit by the rising sun. His silhouette was carved against the light like something out of legend. Long, dark hair tied with leather, a spear in one hand, his skin the color of the red earth itself. He watched her for a long moment. No words, no movement. Even the wind seemed to pause. Her breath caught in her throat. Apache. Fear tore through her, but her body was too weak to run. All she could do was clutch the locket harder, as if it could save her. The rider dismounted slowly. He was barefoot too, his step silent as he approached her. When he knelt beside her, she caught the scent of smoke and wild sage clinging to his skin. His face was striking. Proud lines, sharp cheekbones, eyes dark as obsidian. He said something in his language, low and calm. She didn't understand, but there was no anger in his tone, only curiosity. Her lips trembled. "Please," she whispered, her voice rough from thirst. "Don't hurt me." The man's gaze softened, but his jaw stayed firm. He looked over her injuries, the blisters on her feet, the sunburn on her neck, and then turned toward the horizon. In one sharp whistle, another horse appeared from beyond the rocks, carrying a water skin and a rolled blanket. He poured water into his hand and held it to her mouth. She hesitated. He nodded once, urging her. The water touched her lips like salvation. Tears blurred her vision as she drank greedily. Spilling some down her chin, he said a single word again, slower this time. "Tahane." She blinked, not knowing what it meant, but the sound of his voice settled inside her, like thunder echoing in a deep canyon. Then, gently, he lifted her into his arms. The touch startled her, not rough or possessive, but firm, steady, protective. She could feel the strength in him, the quiet power of someone who belonged to this land in a way she never could. The last thing she saw before she fainted was the glint of a silver amulet around his neck, carved with the symbol of a hawk. When Evelyn woke again, she was lying on a bed of woven hides beneath a thatched shelter. The air smelled of smoke and herbs. Soft chanting drifted from outside, along with the crackle of a fire. For a moment she thought she was dead, until she turned her head and saw him. He sat by the doorway, his profile lit by the firelight, carving a piece of wood with a small blade. His expression was calm but unreadable. He noticed her awake. Their eyes met. "You are safe," he said, this time in careful English, accented but clear. Her heart raced. Why did you help me?" He placed the carving down, then rose to his full height, tall, broad-shouldered, every movement measured like that of a predator who knows his power. "Because you were dying," he said simply. "The desert kills without reason. I do not." His words lingered in the air, heavy and strange. "Who are you?" she asked. He hesitated for a heartbeat before answering. "Kohana." The name suited him, strong like the wind that shapes mountains. He studied her face for a moment longer, as if searching for something, guilt perhaps, or truth, before turning toward the fire. "You cannot stay long," he said quietly. "Your people will come looking. My people. They do not trust yours." She looked away, guilt prickling under her skin. "My people," she whispered. "They're gone. The ranch, it was attacked." Kohana turned to her again, his eyes narrowing. "By who?" She shook her head. "I don't know. Men with scarves on their faces. They killed my father, Silence fell between them. Outside, a coyote howled in the distance, long and mournful. When he spoke again, his voice was softer, yet full of something unspoken. "You are alone now." Tears slipped down her cheek. She nodded. He knelt beside her again and handed her the wooden carving he had been shaping, a small hawk in flight. "The hawk sees far," he said. "It finds what others cannot. Keep it. You may need its eyes." Their hands brushed as she took it. A spark, sharp, unexpected, passed between them. For the first time, Evelyn truly looked at him, not as an enemy or a savior, but as a man, a living soul born of the same pain she carried. For him, too, something shifted. The way her pale hair caught the firelight, the tremor in her voice when she said his name. It stirred something dangerous inside him, something he thought he'd buried long ago. When she tried to thank him, her voice broke. "Why are you helping me, really?" He stood in the doorway, looking out into the endless night. "Because the wind told me," he said without turning. "It said a storm is coming, and you are the beginning of it." That night, as Evelyn drifted between sleep and waking, she heard the distant drums of the Apache camp echoing through the valley, haunting, rhythmic like a heartbeat beneath the stars. And beneath that rhythm she felt another pulse, the strange, dangerous awareness of the man who had saved her. She didn't yet know that the same heartbeat would one day break her own, and that her salvation in the desert would soon become her curse. Days blurred into one another beneath the crimson cliffs. Evelyn healed slowly, her burns softening under the salves the women prepared from sage and crushed aloe. Each dawn, the air filled with the scent of smoke and roasting maize, and each night, drums echoed against the canyon walls like the slow beating of a single heart. At first, she felt like a ghost moving through another world. The people of the camp watched her in silence, their eyes measuring, unsure whether she was a spirit of misfortune or a woman of flesh and blood. Only Kohana spoke to her often. He brought her water from the spring, food from the fire, and words, few but kind, that began to draw her back toward life. When she was strong enough to walk again, he led her beyond the edge of the camp. The sun had just set. The rock faces glowed like embers. From a high ridge she saw the valley spread wide below, dotted with fires that looked like fallen stars. "This is our heart," he said quietly. "Everything that lives here belongs to it. The hawk, the river, the wind. Even you now." She wanted to believe him, but fear still knotted her chest. "Your people don't want me here," she said. "They will," he answered. "Or they will learn to." That night she dreamed of water flowing through red stone, and of the chief standing in the current, calling her name. When she awoke, she couldn't tell whether the warmth on her skin came from the fire or from the memory of his voice. Over the following weeks, Evelyn began to learn the rhythm of Apache life. She ground corn beside the women, helped the children gather wood, and listened to the old storyteller by the flames. The language came slowly, but she tried, sometimes earning small smiles, sometimes laughter. Kohana watched her from a distance, saying little. Yet she always felt his presence when she knelt by the stream, when she looked up at the hawks circling overhead, when she caught the scent of smoke on the wind. One afternoon, she found him at the riverbank teaching a boy to track deer. The boy's laughter carried through the trees until he noticed her. He whispered something, grinned, and ran off, leaving the two alone. "You scare my hunters away," Kohana said, a faint smile on his lips. "I doubt I could scare anyone here," she replied. He pointed to her footprints. "You walk without sound now. That is power." They stood together in the golden light, the river murmuring between them. She saw a gentleness in him then, a kindness hidden beneath the scars and command. "Kohana," she asked softly, "have you always lived here?" "Since I could walk. The canyon raised me. It gave me strength. And it took what it wanted in return." "What did it take?" He looked toward the horizon where the land burned with sunset. "My brother," he said. "He trusted the wrong man, a traitor who promised peace and brought bullets instead." Silence fell. She stepped closer, wanting to speak, to offer something. Instead, she reached out, touching the small hawk carving he wore on a cord at his chest, the twin of the one he'd given her. He didn't move away. For a long heartbeat, their eyes met, and the air between them seemed to tremble like the desert before a storm. A shout broke the moment. Two riders galloped into camp, dust rising behind them. Kohana turned sharply, his expression hardening. Evelyn followed as he strode toward the fire circle. The riders spoke rapidly in Apache, their voices urgent. Evelyn caught only fragments: soldiers, border search. The people gathered, murmuring. She saw fear flicker across some faces, anger across others. Kohana listened, silent, then raised a hand for quiet. "They come again," he said, his English for her benefit. "Your people hunt what they do not understand." Her stomach tightened. "They're looking for me." He didn't answer. His eyes met hers, dark, steady, full of questions neither of them dared ask aloud. That night the camp prepared to move deeper into the canyon. Fires were quenched, horses saddled. Evelyn helped gather blankets, but the women watched her warily, whispering among themselves. Near the edge of the clearing, an older warrior named Taza, broad-shouldered and cold-eyed, approached Kohana. His words were low, angry. Evelyn caught only her name and the glint of resentment in his gaze. "She brings trouble," Taza said in English so she would hear. "Always trouble follows pale eyes." Kohana's tone stayed calm, but the authority in it silenced the murmurs around them. "She is under my protection." Taza spat into the dust. "Then her fate is yours, Chief." He turned away. Evelyn felt shame rise like heat to her face. When the crowd dispersed, she whispered, "Maybe I should leave. I don't want to bring war to your people." Kohana looked at her, his expression unreadable in the firelight. "If danger comes, it was already coming. You are only the sign of it." His voice softened then. "Do not fear the words of men who have forgotten mercy." The words struck something deep inside her. She wanted to believe there could be mercy between their worlds, but she had seen too much death, heard too many screams. She closed her eyes, and for an instant she felt his hand hover near hers, close enough to feel warmth, not quite touching. The tribe moved at dawn. Horses splashed through the shallow river as the sun rose behind the cliffs. Evelyn rode on a small paint mare beside Kohana. The air was cool, the sky a wide sheet of blue. For a moment she almost forgot the fear chasing them. As they reached higher ground, she glanced back and froze. Far in the distance, a line of dust trailed along the valley floor. Riders, perhaps soldiers, moving fast. "Kohana," she breathed. He followed her gaze. His jaw tightened. "Go," he ordered. "Tell the others to keep moving. I will see who follows. I can help." "No." His voice cut through the wind, sharp with command. "You stay with them." He turned his horse and rode down the slope, spear gleaming in the sun. Evelyn watched until the red cliff swallowed him from sight. Something twisted in her chest. Fear, admiration, something far more dangerous. She pressed the small wooden hawk against her palm until it hurt. That night, after they had camped in a narrow gorge, the sound of hooves returned. Kohana emerged from the darkness, his face streaked with dust, his eyes blazing. "Not soldiers," he said. "Outlaws. The same who burned your ranch. They wear blue now to fool both sides." Her blood ran cold. "Then they know I'm alive." "They know," he said, "and they will come." The fire cracked between them, throwing their shadows high on the canyon walls. He looked at her for a long time, as if seeing the shape of what was coming and wishing he could change it. "When the hawk circles low," he said quietly, "it means the storm is near. You must be ready." Evelyn wanted to ask for what, but the words died on her tongue. Somewhere above, a hawk screamed against the moonlight, and the sound echoed down into her bones. She felt the desert holding its breath, waiting for something vast and terrible to break, and though she did not know it yet, that night marked the beginning of her debt to him, the moment when love began to bind itself to danger, when every choice would lead her closer to the fire that would either save them both, or burn everything they had found in the canyon. The desert turns restless. The wind howls through the canyons like a warning that no one hears. The Apache camp feels it first. Animals uneasy, warriors quiet around the fires, and Kohana standing at the ridge each evening, watching the horizon as though he senses the storm coming. Evelyn feels it too. The peace she found among these people trembles beneath the weight of her past. Whispers follow her wherever she walks. Children who once laughed beside her now look away. And at night, when she dreams, she hears gunfire and the crackling of burning wood, the memory of her father's ranch reduced to ashes. Kohana tries to protect her from the tribe's suspicion. He places guards near her tent, speaks for her in council, and silences those who call her a curse. But every word he defends her with deepens the fracture among his own people. Taza, his oldest friend, confronts him in the open. "You choose a stranger over your blood." Kohana's voice is calm but final. I choose what is right. The argument ends in silence that tastes like smoke. That same night, a young scout returns with dire news. Riders have been seen on the western ridge, men dressed like soldiers but moving with the greed of bandits. The same men who burned Evelyn's home. Kohana gathers his warriors and prepares to move the camp deeper into the canyon. We fight only if they bring war, he says. But the decision comes too late. Evelyn overhears the talk. She realizes the outlaws are hunting her, not the tribe. Guilt claws at her heart. She cannot bear the thought of these people, the ones who gave her food, safety, and even kindness, dying because of her. So when darkness falls, she makes her choice. She steals one of the smaller horses and slips away beneath the pale moonlight. Her plan is simple and desperate. Find the raiders, tell them she will surrender herself and lead them away from the Apache. She believes it is the only way to save them. What she doesn't know is that Taza, suspicious of her every move, follows in silence through the shadows. By dawn, she finds the outlaws' camp, rough men with blue coats stolen from dead soldiers, their laughter sharp and cruel. The leader recognizes her instantly. Well now, he says, grinning, the little settler girl's still alive. Evelyn begs him to leave the Apache alone, offers herself in exchange for their safety. The man pretends to agree, but as soon as she reveals the canyon's hidden trail, the path she had seen Kohana's warriors use, he orders his men to saddle up. We'll leave them nothing, he says. The sun rises red that morning. When the first shot echoes through the valley, Kohana knows. He rides back toward camp, the hawk symbol at his chest glinting in the firelight, heart pounding with the dread of betrayal. Smoke curls from the cliffs when he arrives. The Apache camp burns. Women scream, warriors fight and fall. The air is thick with ash and gunpowder. Kohana finds his nephew bleeding near the riverbank, clutching the small hawk carving he'd made for Evelyn. The sight tears through him like a blade. Hours later, when the fighting ends and the raiders scatter, the canyon is quiet again. But it is a silence that no wind dares touch. Kohana walks through the wreckage, through the bodies, the ashes, the ghosts, until he finds the broken carving half buried in dust. He knows then who led the enemy to them. He doesn't curse. He doesn't shout. He simply looks toward the north where the wind carries the faint echo of a horse's trail. Evelyn, meanwhile, has escaped the raiders' camp after realizing their lie. She rides hard, heartbreaking, until she reaches what's left of the Apache camp. The sight steals her breath, fire, ruin, death. And in the midst of it stands Kohana, motionless, face painted with ash and blood, eyes darker than any night. When she tries to speak, her voice trembles. I tried to save you, she whispers. He turns to her slowly. You saved no one, he says. You gave them our blood. Tears streak her face. They said they would leave you. Lies, he cuts in, the word sharp as a knife. You believed them before you believed me. She steps closer, but he takes a step back. The desert has a law, he says. Betrayal is a chain. You wear it until the earth takes you. Her knees give way, but he does not touch her. Instead, he looks up at the sky, the wind tugging at his hair, and speaks a vow to the spirits that echoes through the canyon. As long as the hawk flies above this land, she will not escape me. Not her breath, not her heart, not her dreams. The words hang in the air like thunder long after he turns away. Evelyn is left kneeling in the ashes, clutching the broken carving in her hands, realizing that love has become her punishment, and that her only hope now is to one day earn the forgiveness of the man whose heart she shattered. The smoke of the burned camp clings to the sky for days. Kohana does not ride with his warriors when they bury the fallen. He walks alone along the ridges, silent as the shadow of a hawk. The vow he spoke over the ashes has settled in his blood like iron. Each dawn he looks east, knowing the desert wind will one day carry her scent again. Evelyn flees toward the borderlands. The horse she stole limps, the canteens run dry, and her dreams are full of fire and of Kohana's voice. You will not escape me. Sometimes she wakes believing she hears it in the rustle of mesquite or in the cry of a distant hawk. She presses the carved pendant to her chest, the one he once gave her for protection. It now feels like a shackle. Days blur. She crosses barren plateaus where the sun scalds the world white. Bandits watch her from the cliffs. Merchants in dusty towns whisper when she passes. Rumor runs faster than any rider about the white woman who betrayed the Apache chief, about the blood debt that ties her name to his. She hides beneath scarves and changes her name, but the stories follow, reshaping her into a legend she cannot kill. Far away, Kohana's men track the remnants of the raiders who burned the camp, yet every trail he follows circles back to her. At night he stands by the dying embers of his fire, tracing the pattern of her footprints in the sand. Love, he tells the stars, was the lie she gave me, but the words tremble because a part of him still dreams of her laughter in the canyon wind. One evening, while she shelters in the ruins of an old mission, a stranger arrives, an old trader with a scarred face. He offers her food, then speaks her true name. He searches for you, he says. The chief with the eyes of the storm. Evelyn's heart seizes. Tell him to stop, she whispers. The man only shakes his head. You can't stop a vow spoken to the spirits. He hunts not to kill, but to bind. That night she writes in the dust with a broken branch, "Forgive me." The word is erased by the wind before dawn. Kohana's hunt becomes legend. Settlers see him riding alone through the Badlands, his paint black as ash, his hawk circling above him. Some say he seeks vengeance. Others swear he rides for love that has turned to curse. To his people he has become something between man and omen. When asked why he pursues her still, he answers only, because she still breathes. Weeks later, a monsoon sweeps across the desert. Evelyn, weakened and feverish, takes refuge inside a canyon she does not recognize, until she finds the riverbed lined with stones carved with Apache symbols. Realization crashes through her. This is sacred land. She wants to leave, but the storm walls her in. Thunder splits the sky. Water pours through the gorge like a herd of wild horses. She clings to a rock, screaming against the flood. At that same hour, miles away, Kohana's hawk circles restlessly above his camp. He feels the storm tugging at his heart and rides into it. Rain lashes his face and lightning carves his silhouette against the cliffs. He doesn't understand how he knows, only that he must follow. By the second night of the storm, Evelyn's strength is gone. She drifts in and out of consciousness, hearing echoes of the past. The laughter of the tribe, the soft rhythm of drums. Kohana's voice teaching her the meaning of courage. You belong to the land, not to your fear. When she wakes again, the rain has stopped, but her horse is gone, and a chill has settled through her bones. She starts walking, barefoot, toward the faint glow of a fire ahead. She finds an old shepherd's shelter, a small circle of stones beneath an overhang. A fire burns inside, steady and silent. She steps closer, whispering for help. Then she freezes. A shadow rises from the corner. The firelight catches the glint of silver in his hair, the line of paint across his face, and the hawk feather bound to his wrist. Kohana. For a heartbeat, neither moves. The air hums with the sound of rain dripping from the rocks. His gaze travels over her torn clothes, her hollow eyes, the mud streaked on her skin. So, he says quietly, even the desert did not want you. Evelyn's voice breaks. If you've come to kill me, do it. I've already died once. He steps closer, the firelight flickering between them. Death would free you. My vow was to make you live with what you did. His hand lifts, slow, deliberate, and he touches the pendant still hanging at her throat. You kept this, he murmurs. Why? She can barely breathe. Because I couldn't forget. Her eyes meet his. Because I still love you. For an instant, the world stills. The storm outside fades into silence. Something flickers in his expression. Pain, disbelief, a memory he cannot kill. He turns away sharply, fists tightening. Love is a weapon you already used against me. I didn't mean... She starts. He looks back, eyes like molten stone. Meaning changes nothing. The spirits heard my words. Until I forgive you, the wind will not let you go. The fire crackles between them, throwing sparks that dance like ghosts. Evelyn feels tears burning her eyes. Then what will you do with me? Kohana steps into the light. I will decide when dawn comes, he says. If the sun rises and I still see mercy in the sky, you may live. If not, his voice drops to a whisper. The desert will take what it is owed. He turns away and sits near the cave mouth, his silhouette carved against the lightning-lit horizon. Evelyn curls beside the fire, shaking, watching him through the shadows. Despite everything, the fear, the guilt, the ache, she feels her heart stir. Not with safety, but with the terrible comfort of being near him again. Outside, the wind rises, carrying the cry of the hawk overhead. Inside, two hearts beat in time with the storm's fading rhythm, tethered by love, hate, and the vow that neither can escape. The storm has passed, but its ghost lingers in the canyon. The night's rain has carved new rivers into the dust, and every stone glistens like glass in the newborn light. Evelyn wakes to the sound of wind sifting through wet reeds, to the scent of smoke and rain-soaked cedar. For a moment, she does not remember where she is, only that her body aches and her heart beats too fast. Then she sees him. Kahana stands at the mouth of the shelter, outlined against the pale gold horizon. The firelight still flickers at his back, catching in the beads and feathers that hang from his belt. His bow rests beside him, but his hands are empty. He is watching the sky, silent like a man listening for an answer the earth has not yet given. Evelyn stirs, sitting up. Her throat is raw from crying. "It's morning," she says softly, though she isn't sure why she speaks. Kahana doesn't turn. "The sun decides," he replies. "I told you that." His voice is calm but not cruel. She studies him, the line of his shoulders, the steadiness of his breathing, and wonders if he has slept at all. A hawk cries somewhere above them, cutting through the dawn like a blade. He looks up at it, and for a heartbeat his face softens. Evelyn takes a small breath. "You said the desert would take what it's owed." He nods once. "It always does." "Then let it take me," she whispers. "If that's what it needs." He turns to her then, sharply, eyes burning. "And what would that fix?" "The dead would still sleep in ash. My brother's son would still lie under stone." She lowers her head. "It would stop you from carrying me like a wound." The words strike something in him. Kohana's jaw tightens. For a long moment he says nothing. Then he walks to the fire, crouches beside it, and tosses another stick into the flames. The crackle breaks the silence like thunder. "You think this is about pain," he says quietly. "It is not. You took trust, and trust is not rebuilt with death." Evelyn's eyes fill, but she forces herself to meet his gaze. "Then tell me what to do. Tell me how to give it back." He studies her for a long time, and she feels the weight of his stare. Heavy, searching, almost unbearable. Then finally he says, "Live." She blinks. "Live? Every breath," he says. "Every sunrise. You will walk this land and remember what you burned. You will help heal what you broke. That is your punishment and your chance." The words settle into the air like dust. He stands, turns away from her again, and steps out into the morning. Evelyn hesitates only a moment before following. Outside, the canyon stretches wide and gleaming under the new sun. Mist curls along the riverbed. She feels the warmth on her skin, the chill in her bones, the quiet hum of a world slowly returning to life. For the first time in weeks, the air smells of something clean. Kahana walks ahead of her, silent but not distant now. She watches the rhythm of his stride, the strength in it, the quiet grace she remembers from another time when she was his guest, his student, his almost beloved. They reach the place where the storm water has carved a small pool. He kneels and dips his hand into it, letting the cool current wash the blood and paint from his fingers. Evelyn kneels beside him, hesitating before doing the same. Their reflections ripple together in the water, two faces fractured by light and movement. For a moment, neither speaks. Then Kahana says, almost to himself, "The spirits brought the rain to cleanse what fire left behind. Perhaps they did not mean only the earth." Evelyn looks at him, hope flickering in her chest. "Do you believe they can forgive me?" He doesn't answer immediately. "They may," he says at last. "But forgiveness is a river. You must walk it until it accepts you." A long silence follows. She nods slowly, and something inside her begins to steady. A fragile thread of purpose she hasn't felt since before the betrayal. Later, they climb higher up the canyon, to a ridge overlooking miles of desert still glittering with morning dew. From here the world looks reborn. Kahana points toward a distant smoke rising beyond the horizon. "There is a settlement there," he says. "Traders, travelers, sometimes our own, who walk between both worlds. You will go there." Evelyn feels a pang in her chest. "And you?" "I will watch from afar," he says. "The vow still binds me. You are not free until I release you." She swallows. "And when will that be?" "When I can look at you," he says softly, "and not see the fire." The line cuts deep, yet beneath it lies something almost tender, a sorrow that mirrors her own. She steps closer, close enough to feel the warmth of him, the faint scent of smoke and rain. "Kahana," she whispers, "I never meant for it to end like this." He looks at her then, fully, and for the first time she sees not anger, but exhaustion, grief, and the ghost of love that refuses to die. He lifts a hand slowly and touches her cheek with the backs of his fingers, as if testing whether she's real. The touch is gentle, trembling. "Neither did I," he says. The moment stretches between them like a bridge of light. Then he steps back, breaking it. "Go," he murmurs. Before the sun climbs too high, she hesitates, tears sliding silently down her face. "Will I see you again?" He turns away. "The hawk always circles," he says. "It may be far, but it never forgets where it learned to fly." Evelyn mounts the weary horse and begins the slow descent from the canyon. Behind her, Kahana stands at the ridge, his figure tall and unmoving, the wind tugging at his hair. The sun rises higher, painting the world in gold. He watches until she becomes a small shape against the desert, until the distance swallows her whole. Then he closes his eyes. The wind carries her name across the cliffs, soft and haunting. For the first time since the ashes, his heart feels something close to peace. Thin, uncertain, but alive. Perhaps forgiveness like dawn does not come all at once. It begins with light touching the edge of darkness. And as the hawk sweeps across the sky, Kahana whispers to it, "Follow her, not as my curse, but as my prayer."